Leo and Tia's journey had just begun, and with every step they took, the world around them seemed to change. The familiar sounds of the jungle, birds chirping, insects buzzing, leaves rustling, faded slowly behind them as they ventured deeper into unknown territory. The dense canopy of trees became sparser, and soon they found themselves walking through an open meadow, the grass brushing softly against their paws. The air felt fresher, thinner, as if they were climbing to a place higher than they had ever been. They paused for a moment, looking out over the sweeping plains ahead of them. Leo's golden mane shone in the sunlight as he gazed with excitement at the vast landscape that stretched out before them, while Tia's sharp, green eyes took in every detail. The ground was covered with lush, tall grasses, and in the distance, they could see the faint outline of mountains, their peaks covered in snow. It was beautiful, but it also filled Tia with a slight sense of unease. The world outside their jungle was wild, untamed, and yet there was something about it that felt magical. "I've never seen anything like this," Tia murmured as she stepped forward. "It's like the jungle's wild cousin, but it's so open and free. So much space." Leo smiled at her, his amber eyes filled with a mixture of wonder and determination. "That's exactly what I mean, Tia. We're only scratching the surface of what's out there. There's so much to discover, and if we're together, we can do anything." They began to walk again, the ground beneath their paws soft and yielding as they made their way across the meadow. The wind picked up, causing the grasses to sway in waves, and Tia let out a contented sigh. She could feel her fears beginning to melt away, replaced by the thrill of the unknown. The journey had only just started, but already she felt a sense of freedom she had never known before. As they continued their journey, the landscape began to shift once more. The open plains eventually gave way to a dense forest, the trees towering overhead and blocking out much of the sunlight. The air grew cooler, and the scent of pine and damp earth filled their nostrils. It was a completely different world, one that felt both ancient and alive with secrets. Leo, always the leader, moved forward confidently, but Tia could feel a slight shiver run down her spine. The forest was quiet, too quiet. She could sense that they were no longer alone. "Do you hear that?" Tia whispered, her ears flicking as she stopped in her tracks. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the shadows between the trees. Leo paused and listened. The soft rustling of leaves could be heard, and for a moment, it almost seemed like the forest itself was holding its breath. "I hear it. Stay close, Tia. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." The two of them moved carefully, their paws making little sound against the forest floor. The silence was thick, almost oppressive, as they made their way deeper into the woods. Then, just as Tia was about to speak, a figure darted out from behind a tree. It was a creature they had never seen before, large, sleek, and covered in dark, bristling fur. Its eyes gleamed in the half-light, watching them with an intensity that sent a chill through Tia's bones. The creature didn't move forward, but it didn't retreat either. It simply watched, its gaze unwavering. Tia took a step back, her heart racing. "Leo." "What is that?" Leo stood firm, his golden mane slightly ruffled by the wind. His amber eyes remained locked on the creature, but his voice was calm and steady. "I don't know, but we're not here to fight. We're explorers. Let's see what it wants." The creature remained motionless for a moment, and then, to their surprise, it slowly stepped forward. It was as if it was considering them, sizing them up. Tia felt her breath catch in her throat, but Leo's steady presence kept her grounded. "You don't belong here," the creature spoke, its voice low and deep, like the rumble of thunder. "This forest is for those who understand it. You are not like us." Leo's eyes softened, his voice gentle. "We are not here to take anything from the forest. We are travelers seeking knowledge. We mean no harm." The creature seemed to study them for a moment longer before it spoke again. "Knowledge is a heavy burden. Are you sure you wish to carry it?" Tia's heart pounded in her chest as she glanced at Leo. They had ventured so far, and now they were face to face with something far beyond their understanding. But Leo's voice, always steady, rang out clearly. "We are ready," he said. "We face whatever comes together." The creature gave a slow, almost imperceptible nod before stepping aside. "Then go. But remember this. Not all paths lead to light. And not all journeys are safe." With that, the creature vanished into the shadows of the forest, leaving Leo and Tia alone once more. The forest felt quieter now, the air still thick with mystery, but somehow less threatening. Tia let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "That was strange," she said, still watching the place where the creature had disappeared. Leo nodded slowly. "Yes, but we're still moving forward. Whatever lies ahead, we'll face it together like we always have." They continued on, their pace a little slower now, but with a renewed sense of purpose. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The path grew more difficult, the trees denser, but still they pressed on. Hours passed, and just when they thought they couldn't go any further, the forest suddenly opened up into a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a massive rock, towering above them like a giant's fortress. The rock was smooth and white, and it seemed to glow in the dim light of the fading day. Tia stepped forward, her paws brushing against the cool stone. "What is this place, Leo?" Leo walked up beside her, his gaze fixed on the rock. "I don't know, but it feels important. It feels like it's calling us." They circled the rock, examining it from every angle. As they reached the far side, they found a narrow opening in the stone, just big enough for them to slip through. Tia hesitated for only a moment before she followed Leo inside. The tunnel was narrow, dark, and winding, but there was a strange energy in the air, a quiet hum that seemed to guide them forward. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged into a vast underground cavern. The walls of the cavern were covered in glowing crystals, casting a soft, otherworldly light across the space. In the center of the cavern was a pool of water, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the glowing crystals above. "This place. It's beautiful," Tia whispered, her voice barely audible in the stillness. Leo nodded, his eyes wide with awe. "It's like nothing I've ever seen." "What is this place?" Tia stepped closer to the pool, peering into its depths. For a moment, she thought she saw something move beneath the surface, an ancient figure, shimmering in the water. But when she blinked, it was gone. "I don't know," Tia said, turning to Leo. "But I feel like we're supposed to be here." Leo gazed at the water for a long moment before speaking. "There's something about this place. Like it's a crossroads between the past and the future. Maybe this is where we're meant to find the answers we seek." As they stood there, the cavern grew stiller, the hum in the air growing stronger, as if the very earth was alive, listening to their thoughts. Then, from the depths of the pool, a voice echoed in the stillness. "You have come, Leo and Tia. Your journey is..." "We're ready," Leo said, his voice unwavering. "We've come this far together, and we won't turn back now." The guardian studied them for a moment, its eyes narrowing as if weighing their resolve. Then, with a slow nod, it stepped aside, allowing them access to the pedestal. "Very well. But remember, the truth you seek may not be what you expect." Leo stepped forward and gently placed his paw on the crystal. The moment he touched it, a surge of energy shot through his body, flooding his mind with images, sounds, and sensations. visions of the past, the present, and the future all swirling together in a kaleidoscope of color. Tia gasped as she watched him, her eyes wide with fear and awe. In that moment, Leo's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and he seemed to be in a trance, as though the very essence of the crystal was entering him, revealing secrets that had been hidden for eons. Tia reached out, placing a paw on his shoulder, trying to ground him. "Leo," she called, her voice breaking through the vision. Slowly, Leo blinked, and the glow in his eyes faded. He swayed for a moment before steadying himself. The crystal's light dimmed, and the cavern seemed to hold its breath. "What did you see?" Tia asked, her voice trembling. Leo looked at her, his expression filled with a mix of wonder and uncertainty. He saw everything: the past, the present, and the future. The jungle, the valley, the journeys of all who came before us. And I saw our path. We are part of something much larger than we ever imagined. He looked down at the crystal, which had now lost its golden glow, returning to a simple, weathered stone. But there is more to the story, Tia. The world is changing. The balance of nature is shifting, and we are at the center of it. Tia's heart beat faster as she tried to grasp the enormity of what Leo was saying. The crystal had shown him a vision of the world, of their place within it, and of something much larger at play. It was a truth that neither of them fully understood yet, but one thing was clear: their journey was far from over. The guardian stepped forward, its eyes wise and knowing. "The truth has been revealed to you. But remember, the path you choose now will shape the future of your world. There are forces at play that you do not yet understand, and it is up to you to find your way through them." Tia and Leo exchanged a look, both of them feeling the weight of the responsibility that had suddenly fallen upon them. They had come seeking answers, but now they had more questions than ever. "Let's go," Leo said, his voice filled with determination. "We have much to learn and much to do. But whatever comes, we'll face it together." With a final glance at the guardian, Leo and Tia turned and began their journey back out of the cavern, the weight of the world ahead of them settling on their shoulders. The road was long, and the challenges greater than they could imagine. But they knew one thing for sure: together they could overcome anything. And so, their great adventure continued, as they faced the mysteries of the world with courage, heart, and the unbreakable bond of friendship. Leo and Tia's journey through the cavern was a silent one, the weight of the vision they had witnessed pressing heavily on their hearts. The air was thick with the realization of their role in something far grander than they could have ever imagined. The secrets of the crystal had been revealed, but the path to understanding them was unclear. They had seen glimpses of a changing world, of forces at play beyond their control, and of their place in the unfolding story of nature. As they emerged from the cavern and stood on the edge of the Valley of Forgotten Paths, the landscape seemed to have shifted. The dark shadows that once haunted the valley had receded, and the dry, cracked earth now seemed less barren. A faint light from the distant sun touched the edges of the valley, illuminating the land with a gentle glow. Tia glanced at Leo, her green eyes searching his face. "What now?" she asked softly, the uncertainty in her voice matching the depth of their newfound knowledge. Leo looked toward the horizon, his amber eyes filled with quiet determination. "Now we follow the path the keeper spoke of. The journey isn't over, Tia. There's still much more to discover, and we have to protect what's left of the balance." "But how do we do that?" Tia asked. "We've learned so much, but we don't even know where to begin." Leo placed a reassuring paw on her shoulder. "We start by believing in ourselves and in each other. The journey has always been about more than the challenges we face. It's about understanding our place in the world and how we can help shape the future. The crystal showed me that there are forces out there, forces that want to change everything. And we can be the ones to stop them, but we can't do it alone. Tia nodded, her heart swelling with resolve. Together we'll protect the world we love. We'll find the others who share our cause, and we'll bring them together. As they turned toward the path ahead, they knew that the journey was far from over. They had learned much, but there was still more to uncover. The world was vast, and many adventures lay ahead. But now they had each other, and that was all they needed. The journey that lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Leo and Tia were no longer the same animals who had entered the Valley of Forgotten Paths. They had faced their fears, uncovered ancient truths, and understood the weight of their responsibilities. But the world was not as simple as it once seemed. The balance that had sustained life for so long was now at risk, and they were its guardians. As they traveled back toward their home in the jungle, the familiar sights of their lush, green world brought them a sense of comfort. The towering trees, the rushing rivers, and the calls of the creatures that lived there reminded them of what they were fighting to protect. But even as they walked, they knew that their home, and the world beyond it, was changing. The winds carried whispers of disturbances, strange events and mysterious forces that were threatening the natural order. It was clear that the peace they had known was fragile, and they had been chosen to restore it. "We'll need to gather allies," Leo said, his voice steady as they walked side by side. "The journey we began here is only the beginning. There are others out there who understand the balance of the world, who can help us fight the forces that seek to disrupt it." Tia's eyes sparkled with resolve. "We'll find them. Together we can do anything." As they traveled further into the jungle, they encountered old friends, creatures who had once shared their adventures, others who had taught them important lessons about the world. They told tales of strange happenings beyond the jungle, of clouds that twisted the skies and rivers that no longer followed their natural course. Each tale brought with it a new piece of the puzzle. One evening, as they sat beneath a towering tree, Leo looked at Tia with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder," he asked, "if we were always meant to do this? To be the ones who protect the balance?" Tia smiled softly, her gaze fixed on the stars above. "Maybe we were," she said. "Maybe everything we've done up until now has led us here. But I know one thing for sure. We wouldn't be here without each other." Leo nodded, his amber eyes glinting in the moonlight. "Together we can face anything. No matter how dark the path ahead, we'll walk it side by side." And so, with renewed strength and a shared purpose, Leo and Tia set off once more, their journey not just for knowledge, but for the protection of their world. They knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges, more trials, more battles, more mysteries, but they were ready. Together they would face the future, their hearts bound by a friendship that could never be broken. The adventure wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun.